check out our streaming schedule for this week. We've got tons of content in terms of the NFL and college football, as we're going live just about every single day this week. So make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single moment where we go live. And now, on with our feature presentation.
Honestly, do I even need an introduction here? Do I need to do a freaking introduction here? I mean, this still image says it all, doesn't it? 4th and goal of the 9, 16-point game, midway through the fourth quarter, and you're kicking the field goal in the national championship? Can you not do math? Did your brain short circuit? Did you have one too many Georgia peaches down in Atlanta before the game? Why are you kicking the freaking field goal?
Fake punt earlier was snuffed out, and the field goal unsuccessful.
Welcome to Dumb Decisions. Before I break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something to look bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something to look awful almost immediately. These are moves where your gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this can possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of a college head coach. And for this one, we're taking a look at the mind of Notre Dame head coach Marcus Freeman. Look, on one hand, the job that Freeman did to get the Fighting Irish to this point has been nothing short of commendable. The Irish were behind the 8 ball after that loss to Northern Illinois. And what Freeman did after the game, by talking with NIU's head coach to break down why his team lost, and what looks they showed that they shouldn't show going forward, was an incredible moment that turned the season around, and should be a lesson to every coach, and every person for that matter, about how to handle losing with grace and class, and how to actually learn from your mistakes. Freeman is a heck of a guy to root for. He's a heck of a lot easier to root for than the last guy that Notre Dame had, I'll put it that way. And his team exceeded expectations with him at the helm. On the other hand, this was one of the dumbest freaking things I've seen in a football game. This was the dumb decision to end all dumb decisions. This was like the final boss of dumb decisions. Usually with these dumb decisions, you can find at least one person, if you really try hard enough, who will defend the move. Good luck finding that person here, because nothing about this decision made any sense whatsoever, and it ended up thwarting any chance Notre Dame had at winning the game. So with that being said, let's take a look at why crying a field goal down by 16 points midway through the fourth quarter on 4th and goal at the 9-yard line is a really bad idea. And let's be very clear, this is a dumb decision even if the kick is good. The fact that the kick wasn't good was the cherry on top, because if there ever deserved to be a missed field goal based off of cowardice and stupidity, it was with that play. As things stand, you're down by 16 points. Football is a game of possessions. It's not necessarily a game of points. Just because you have a chance to score points doesn't mean that's the right thing to do. Just like you don't see teams kicking an extra point down by 10 in the fourth quarter simply because it's an easier way to score and you get points out of it, you don't see teams doing whatever Marcus Freeman did here. In a 16-point game, let's say you try the field goal and it goes in. Of course, it didn't because that was hysterical, but let's pretend that it did. Because let's be honest, I think most people expect a 27-yard field goal to go through the uprights and not doink right off of them. If the kick is good, congratulations. You turned a 16-point game into a 13-point game. In a 16-point game, you need to score on 2 possessions and you need 2 touchdowns. In a 13-point game, guess what? You need to score on 2 possessions and you need 2 touchdowns. You turned a 2-score game into a 2-score game. You did not change the number of possessions that you needed. In other words, Ohio State just won. And of course, I'm not saying to never kick a field goal in that spot. If it's the start of the third quarter, by all means, kick it. But when there's 9 minutes left in the game, and you're at the 9-yard line, and your defense hasn't been able to stop anything all game, guess what? The odds that you get to touch the ball twice on quality possessions are slim to none. You didn't have the opportunity here to pick and choose what you wanted to do on 4th down. There was no decision to be made. The decision was to go for it. The best case scenario if you go for it is that you turn this into a 1-score game. The worst case scenario if you go for it is that you don't get it and it stays a 16-point game with Ohio State getting the ball inside their own 10. If you kick the field goal, the best case scenario is that you turn this into a 2-score game where you need 2 touchdowns. So exactly what it was before. Yes, I know about the 2-point conversions, but you still need to drive down the field twice. The worst case scenario is that you miss the kick and it stays a 16-point game with Ohio State getting the ball at the 20 and not inside their own 10-yard line. The best case scenario in the option where you go for it is better than the best case scenario in the option where you don't. And the worst case scenario in the option where you go for it is better than the worst case scenario in the option where you don't. So if that's the case, why the actual heck would you not go for it there? Why? Maybe it'd be different if the score was 16-0 at this stage, and after Ohio State scored on each of its first 2 drives, they've gone 3 and out every drive since then, with those drives taking an average of 90 seconds. But that's not the situation. Ohio State had yet to go 3 and out on any drive. Ohio State had crossed midfield on every single drive. Ohio State had scored on all but 1 drive, and the 1 drive they didn't score on, they were in field goal range before you forced a fumble. Ohio State's 6 drives averaged 4.5 minutes each, and they had more drives of 6+ minutes than they had drives under 3 minutes. Just doing some basic math on that, if their drives average 4.5 minutes of a sample size of just about the entire game, and there are 9 minutes left in the contest, if you kick the field goal to keep it at a 2-score game, what are the odds they're going to get the ball back twice? I'm going to take a wild guess and say that they're not great. Not great, Bob. Seeing as if Ohio State hits their average on those 2 drives, the game is over regardless of what Notre Dame does offensively on their end. And they don't even have to hit the average because that's assuming Notre Dame's drives take 0 seconds. They could be way under that, 3.5 minutes each, and you'd still be in cruise control if you're Ohio State. And you're going to be stunned to find out that Notre Dame only got to touch the ball 1 more time after that. They did not have the drives they needed to score 2 times in 2 possessions. They did get it twice technically, but the final time they got it was with 26 seconds left and no timeouts. So no time to actually mount a drive, even if they wanted to. And yet, despite all of that, despite everything I said, from 9 yards out, you thought your odds of finding the end zone were significantly worse than your odds of making the field goal, getting a quick stop despite not forcing Ohio State to punt or go 3 and out, or even have a drive stall before your own 30-yard line, drive down the field to score a touchdown, get another quick stop, and then drive down the field to score another touchdown? How does that make any sense? Seriously, what is the logic there? The possessions were not on your side. The time left in the game was not on your side. Nothing at all was on your side that was weighing in favor of kicking the field goal here. Not on 4th and 9, which is more than reasonable to pick up. Not midway through the 4th quarter, when time is winding down. Not when you've allowed 30+ points already this game. You just can't do this here. After the game, someone asked Freeman about the decision to try the field goal, which, good for them, because I would have crucified the media if someone didn't ask that question. Seeing as it's up there, considering the circumstances, for one of the dumbest, most indefensible decisions in the history of the sport. At the very least, the history of the college football national championship. And this is what Freeman had to say about the call. Take a listen.
Yeah, I think it was 4th and 9 or 10. And I just thought, instead of being down 16, let's try to go down 13. And I know it's still a 2-score game, but you have a better probability of getting 14 points than you do 16 points. And so if it was a shorter fourth and goal situation, I probably would have gone for it. But I just felt 4th and 9 was not a great chance for us to make that. And, I decided to kick it, and we didn't make it.
So let me get this straight. Getting 9 yards on one play, that was too much to do. Getting 9 yards on one play, which, by the way, way to show faith in your offense, but getting 9 yards on one play was too tough. However, getting 2 defensive stops and then driving the length of the field twice into the end zone and doing it all in the span of 9 minutes, keeping in mind that your best drive of the day took more than 9.5 minutes was more than attainable. The logic just doesn't add up. The math is not mapping. Something doesn't compute here. You don't trust your offense to go 9 yards on one play, or at the very least, potentially draw some sort of defensive penalty on Davidson and Bynaston to get on that first down, who is a walking magnet for the yellow flag. But you trust your offense to drive roughly 150 yards in 9 minutes, all while getting 2 defensive stops on a day where, thus far, Ohio State had scored on all but one drive, and that one drive they didn't score on, they got inside your 30-yard line and just coughed it up? You think that 150 yards and 2 stops is better than 9 yards, 75 yards, and 1 stop? How on earth did you come to that conclusion? Seriously, Coach Freeman, you're a smart guy. You're a good coach. How do you come to that? If someone said that the number 3 was greater than the sum of 2 plus 2, we'd look at that person as though they were crazy and had 4 heads. And yet, that's sort of what Freeman said here, and that's sort of what he was thinking. 9 yards on one play with 9 minutes to go was too much to handle, even though that was your only way to win, and the alternative was way worse. Give me a break. And as much as I respect Coach Freeman, this was a horribly coached game for him. Because I thought this video was going to be about something completely different. Because this Dumb Decisions episode could have easily been another decision he made in the second half when he called a fake punt on 4th and 2 in his own territory down by 3 scores, which didn't fool anyone. Instead of just trying a QB power with Riley Leonard, which has worked all day, he runs a fake punt where it's so obvious that it's a fake punt because his backup quarterback is lined up as a blocker. Safe to say, no one whatsoever was fooled by that decision. It was a horrible decision by Marcus Freeman in a horribly coached game. And then you also have the clock management at the very end of the game, where he could have called timeout after Jeremiah Smith got that big 3rd down, save 4 seconds for a potential final drive if you're Notre Dame, seeing as you need to have as much time as possible on the clock to do something with. So you call the timeout before the 2-minute timeout and not afterwards. I've gone over that many times before. I busted up the chalkboard many times. But considering how awful the decisions were by Freeman on this day with a fake punt, and especially with that field goal, complaining about that is like complaining about the wall color on the Titanic. There are bigger fish to fry. So what do we learn from all of this? If it's late in the contest and time is winding down, you cannot, under any circumstances, turn a 2-score game into a 2-score game. If you are more likely than not going to be in a position where the number of drives remaining for you will be less than the number of possessions you're going to be down by, then you cannot bypass opportunities, especially when they're incredibly reasonable opportunities to cut into the deficit to reduce the number of scores that you're down by. If you think going 150 yards and getting 2 stops on a day where your defense ain't gotten a single 3 and out is easier than going 84 yards and getting 1 stop, then you need to reevaluate what's going on in your head. And if you're Notre Dame and you want to play like a champion today, then you need to coach like a champion today. And safe to say, Marcus Freeman did not coach like a champion. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision.
Be sure to like and subscribe if you have not done so already, as it helps the channel out a lot. And check out my other channels, JG8 for the history of college football, JG7 for the history of baseball, and JG9 News, where we talk about all things happening in the NFL. Join me every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we'll play live NFL trivia for cash prizes. And make sure to join me live, as we're on stream just about every single day. And thanks to all our Patreon members and our YouTube members for helping out the channel. See how you become a member and show your support financially in the description down below.